Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Venture Outfitter Weekly. I know that we're going to break our cycle just a little bit. We're here in Chile, and we're actually doing a program from Chile. Real excited about that. We have some special guests, and we're going to kind of go through things a little bit differently than what we've done in the past. First things first. Welcome to the Venture Outfitter. The whole idea behind the Venture Outfitter is connecting entrepreneurs around the world that are working on businesses that are driving impact and change across different country boundaries. And we have some really special guests today. We're going to have an open conversation. I'll go through a few slides, but before that, because one of our speakers is available just for a little bit, but very special, I want to make sure that we welcome him. But today's program is actually sponsored by the state of Chihuahua. The state of Chihuahua is, we're in an exploratory program right now, working together with the state of Chihuahua on helping build bridges. Part of the process that we talked about last week is building venture bridges between different parts of the world. And obviously with myself in Chile right now, the idea is that we're doing this, and we're going to give you some historical perspectives about what happened in Chile 20 years ago, and then is being renewed over and over and over with some of the parties that we have on today. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the slides for a second. And right here with me today, for just the next few minutes, we have Dr. Antonio Rios. Myself and Dr. Rios or I call him Antonio, we're two of the keynote speakers. His keynote speech was today. Mine was yesterday at a very special conference. I'll tell you more about the conference in a little bit. But one of the things that was, we didn't plan this. It was just by chance that both of us are here, and both of us were selected to be keynote speakers. And what's interesting about this is Dr. Rios is the gentleman who actually was responsible for the other side of the venture bridge between Mexico and Texas. The federal government of Mexico, the Institute of the Entrepreneur, called INADEM, had actually funded a venture bridge between many sites in Mexico and Austin, although it's more generally in Texas. And the whole idea was to tie things together. And you have to have a firm base on each side, right? You have to have, TechRatch on one side. Well, Antonio is actually the director of all of the entrepreneurial activity that happens for Tech de Monterrey, the MIT of Mexico. He was residing in Monterrey, Mexico, but he's actually originally from Chihuahua. Yeah, right. And so I've seen him in both cities. Antonio, I know you're going to have to leave in a little bit, but what's your perspective of this conference? What do you see possible with Valparaiso, the region that we're in? What do you also feel about what's happening between Mexico and Texas, and just northern Mexico, especially in detail?
Well, actually, one of the issues that is kind of the right moment to do it is try to open the innovation and entrepreneurship to other countries, not only locally, but I think internationally. One of the issues that now is working well, very well, is like we did it before, do kind of bridges, kind of connection with in this case with Tech Ranch, and also with people like Kevin, that we can do programs together in order not only to attend new entrepreneurs, but also to do another thing let's say, to create environments to develop new projects. I think now, for example, Kevin is having a very good relation with Chihuahua and Monterrey related with those entrepreneurs, the new entrepreneurs, and also environment. So I think it is the opportunity to develop bridges, to develop new projects, to connect, in this case, another part of the world, let's say Austin, let's say Mexico, or let's say Chile, in this case, Valparaiso. I see a huge opportunity to do the connection with that. I think you have the people, you have Ava, which is a very nice infrastructure to do that kind of programs right now. But I see this event, this like the beginning of new things that we can create together with this case, Austin, Mexico, Monterrey, Chihuahua, Valparaiso, anyway. But the point is, we need to do something. And the activity, we need to do it right now. I think this is the momentum.
Yeah, especially the thing that we were talking about last week is with this massive shift, at least from the United States point of view, away from supply chains in China. 2 weeks ago, it was announced that Mexico has now become the United States' #1 trading partner, but back and forth, both, top trading partner is Mexico, top trading partner is the United States. That's creating this massive opportunity in the two cities that Antonio is mentioning, in Monterrey, Mexico, and also in Chihuahua, other cities in Mexico. The manufacturing jobs are exploding. And the thing that we recognize, and one of the reasons that these venture bridges are so important for the topics that he's mentioning about innovation and entrepreneurship, is a lot of times the large companies, the Fords, the Dell Computer Corporations, the Apples, stuff like that, they don't need help going across these boundaries, these country boundaries. They can do it themselves. Whereas technology entrepreneurs that have the innovative solutions that can solve all sorts of problems, as well as that, that capability is just, it's really difficult as an early stage. And I've some of you heard my story where, my first customer for my first startup, 30 years ago was a bank in Mexico. I happened to get really lucky that I was able to find that customer. Part of what we want to do is lay down the trails that make it possible. Now, with Mexico's business exploding, just like going gangbusters because of the shift, it's creating an opportunity for places like Chile, especially Valparaiso, because we can plug into this larger group of people. Some of the entrepreneurs I was working with yesterday are like, well, my English is not that good. I don't know how to connect into the United States. And I'm like, well, this is why we want to connect you into what's happening in Chihuahua, what's happening in Monterrey and other cities in Mexico, because it's just creating this massive opportunity. It's not just a lot of entrepreneurs come to me and they say, hey, I want to go to the United States. And I'm like, well, quizás Mexico, perhaps Mexico instead. I know you have to. You mentioned that you have another responsibility to go to. What any words that you like to close before we hop into some of the other?
Before I leave, just say we have a programs like Tech Branch is working right now, and I think one of the activities that we can implement right now is take advantage of those programs right now in order to do something. Quickly, let's say that take advantage of the programs that already exist and try to work with. You have, for example, Valparaiso. I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs right now, and they are very anxious to have not only accelerator program, but also some access to venture capital. So let's do it right now. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds great. Well, thank you for joining us.
See you around.
Yeah, travel safe to back to Mexico, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, sure. I think anywhere on the world.
Yeah, no, you and I are going to be there. We'll be inviting Leonardo as well, but we'll talk about it in a second. Thank you, Antonio. All right, well, so I wanted to, everyone knows that I particularly like kind of the shoot from the hip Texas style. I might not look like a Texan with my scarf like this, but the idea about this opportunity for collaboration is really important. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to some of the slides just to hop back in, and then we'll come back. We have some other special guests that we're going to hear from as well. Let me see if I can do my best to make sure I share the right slides. Okay, Jello, I assume that we're good to go on that. Back to the state of Chihuahua. So part of the thing is Antonio is actually from Chihuahua, Mexico, and spends a lot of time between Monterrey, Mexico, and Chihuahua, Mexico. There are 5 states in Mexico that are just absolutely exploding of opportunity, and he represents 2 of them for the work that he's doing. And so it's real exciting. So part of the thing that's happening is we're launching a bunch of different bridges. We've already announced to you that with the government of Austria, we have one that's launched. With Japan, the Japan Trade Organization, we have a second year of that bridge. We're just about to launch the Chihuahua Bridge officially, been doing a lot of interesting activities there. And there's a number of other places that now we've really been focusing on this venture bridge concept to engage. Let me do a quick commercial break and say, if you're interested in getting involved in this, I'll say this officially at the very end, but we have a community, a digital community that, for entrepreneurs that you can participate in. Parts of it are in Spanish, parts of it are mainly it's in English. But if you want to join part of this, go to techranch.com/connect, and there's a free place to sign up for the community. Sign up for free. These broadcasts are always going to be free. Signing up for the community is going to be free. Get involved, because part of the idea is we're trying to decentralize this type of work. We want that the cost to participate in this type of collaboration to be as low as possible. And so we think free is pretty accessible. So please do. We will be announcing more about the different bridges, but that kind of gives you an idea. Next week, I'm going to be in Mendoza, Argentina. And so although by the time I broadcast, more than likely I will be back in Texas. We're working out the final details and stuff like that. We'll have someone join us from that. We're working on the final details of who it's going to be. But part of this idea is to tie some of this work into Mendoza state, which is one of the states in Argentina. And then the week afterwards, Paul Young, who is a product marketing expert, will talk about market-driven companies and the mindset. And this is really critical when I speak to international entrepreneurs. There is, for all of the United States weaknesses, there also are certain strengths. The mindset about how to be market-driven is something that there's a real strength of. Paul happens to be one of the world's top experts at this. He also was involved in the Tech Ranch more than a decade ago as an entrepreneur. And so he has a very special perspective. That's 11 o'clock Central Time, or that's Texas time. For those of you that are in Chile, that will be at 12 o'clock Chilean time next week, or both times, 12 o'clock local time. So there's been a bunch of different things. Like I said, I got to actually kick off the program yesterday here in Chile on August 2nd. Really great group of people, and real excited about some of the stuff that we're getting to do. And then I'll be in Mendoza on the 7th and the 8th. If you're in Mendoza and you see this broadcast and you'd like to connect in, just reach out to us. You can always send an email to start@techranch.com. And my team kind of coordinates my schedule for stuff like that. So please join us. So some of the slides or some of the photos from what happened in the event. If you see on the right photo, part of what I mentioned about this just a few weeks ago, that about how excited I am to be back in Chile. We have a short clip just so you see it of me on the stage.
Mucho de lo que ocurrió. Sí, Tesla vino a Austin por este ecosistema de emprendedores. Parte de crear este ecosistema, la razón de que vinieran estas grandes compañías a Austin es porque para ver compartir la innovación que se estaba llevando a cabo hoy. En etapas iniciales de emprendedores, lo que ocurrió.
So what we'll do is we'll make sure that recording, which is obviously been translated into Spanish as well as the original English, we'll make sure that we have that accessible to you. Thank you to Eva, the organization that's gotten kicked off here, that's really responsible for a lot of the organization of this event. They were our host here, and it's been a great few days. We've got to see the beauty of Valparaiso and Viña del Mar. The photo on the left looks like it's the sun, but that's the moon over Valparaiso. Just absolutely beautiful place. Got to interact with a bunch of different people. In fact, Drew Shirleby from the National Security Innovation Council happened to be vacationing with his family, you see over here on the left, happened to be here and vacationing here. He's also part of the Texas Association of Business. So the bridge connections, we were able to take advantage that he was here on the ground and already start looking at how we can build connections between Valparaiso and Texas based on his connectivity. He's right now up in San Pedro in the Valley of the Moon, which is in the northern part of Chile. But it was really exciting to be able to have him connect into the group here. The beauty of the side of the mountain here, just as you can see, is just amazing. So, which brings us to today, returning to Chile. Like I said, 20 years ago, my first steps in working with entrepreneurs were actually here. And I mentioned this on June 15th, reviewing 20 years of working with entrepreneurs worldwide and reflection. I got to tell you a little bit about some of the people that I've got to work with. Here's a special photo from 2012, back before I had a beard. And, well, you know, just you can see some of the different groups. But the gentleman off to the left is one of my very strong collaborators. I consider him a brother. I've told you about him many, many times before. He's a co-leader of cities that can be. We'll get him to tell us about what that is. Also, Bomba Chile, president of Gulliver, the organization that is like kind of almost like there's a sister organization relationship, not formally, but informally between the two. He's also had some really impressive stuff that he's done where BMW recognized him for the work that he's done worldwide as a member of the BMW Foundation Responsible Leader Network. His name is Leonardo Maldonado. He's a very, very close friend of mine. We spent 4 hours the first day that I was here getting to connect and all that sort of stuff. And then got to spend even more right after that. Let's bring him on to the screen, Jello. And perfect. Good to see you, Leo. Thank you for joining today. I'm so excited to be here with you. I kind of wish we were in the same room, but you're in Santiago and I'm in Valparaiso right now. How are you doing? Tell us all about your background and things like that, so everyone knows more about it, about your background.
I'm delighted to be here. I would prefer not to be in Santiago or Valparaiso. I actually prefer to be in Austin, but it hasn't been that way for at least a decade. I don't know. About my background, I was born in Chile. I was raised in Montreal. So French, my first language, English, my second, Spanish, actually my third. And I've dedicated my whole life to entrepreneurship in very different formats. From building ecosystems to coaching entrepreneurs to working with big corporations. And for the last, I don't know, 10 years, it has picked up a sustainability side to it. So it's more about sustainability entrepreneurship now. And I'm starting in the road of regeneration, and it seems to be where I'm heading right now.
So tell us a little bit more about well, actually, I should say that this to set down some of the conversations. Leo and I have both set out, we met in 2003. A gentleman by the name of Senator Fernando Flores introduced us when I had gotten to come to Chile and be here as part of a group that he was working with. I had the first ideas about how I wanted to work with entrepreneurs worldwide. And Leo was responsible for a part of my training and vice versa, back and forth. Me as the tech entrepreneur, him with the background of being a community leader. What are some of the communities you've led over the last few years, Leo?
Well, all different kinds of things. When we met, I think I still worked at the Mercator Foundation, which was something to train thousands of young kids to entrepreneurship. I've also led the B Corp movement in Chile for a couple of years, and now I'm co-leading this alliance between my company and the B Corp movement that is called Cities Can Be. We've worked in Rio. In Spanish, it's called Ciudades Más B. And we've worked in Rio, Mendoza, Santiago, Asunción, Barcelona, Sao Paulo, and we started working in Paris a couple of months ago.
And so you're
and-
working on yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And the last one that I think it's relevant to mention is I've been working at this thing called 3 times I. And 3 times I, it means innovate ourselves, include ourselves, and inspire ourselves. And what it is, it's a national movement where big corporations, startups, B Corps, foundations, and universities get together to produce a climate of collaboration and dialogue. We're basically saying that in the midst of this hyperpolarization in the world, we need to rebuild a safe space to actually have a conversation. And we've been at it for the last 5 years, creating safe spaces to talk about all the different struggles that polarizes our country.
Yeah, I think we've seen that worldwide, right? Especially back in my country, in the United States, the polarization has gotten to a level of some might say insanity. You've written a number of books, 4 different books that I've heard about, and I think there's a 5th one coming about extreme collaboration. Can you give us kind of a sense about what is extreme collaboration? It seems like that somehow ties into what you just were mentioning. What is it? Tell us about the concepts.
Yeah, the whole idea is, if you look at COVID, in COVID, we shined in our capacity to create new solutions. Humanity managed to create, in 1/10 of the time that it took to create a vaccine, we created tens of them. So, for the terms of science and technology, we really excelled, and it was something to be proud of. In terms of politics, we really flunked. We really messed up. And if we could get all together for science and technology, in terms of politics, we actually moved the other way around and said everybody has to save their own ass, and it's nobody's problem if everybody else dies. And that is actually the worst approach you could have. And that's the reason why we never beat COVID. Basically, we incorporated it. Now it's not a pandemic, it's an endemic, and it'll be part of our lives for the rest of the world. Why? Because we cannot work together. The reason why we're having the highest amounts of heat in the history of humanity, it's because we cannot get together to solve these things. The reason we are killing the oceans or deforesting and et cetera, is because we haven't managed to create a way of working together. So that's our main concern. And what we're saying is traditional collaboration is no good, because you tend to think that you can only collaborate with people you trust and you care for. And that doesn't work, because you mostly hate 90% of the other people that don't think like you, because we are in a polarized world and we think we have the truth and the other ones are wrong. So instead of that, we need to collaborate with those people we don't necessarily know, we don't necessarily like, we don't necessarily trust. But we need to work together if we're going to solve these problems. So that's why we call it extreme collaboration. It's like any extreme sport. It's much more dangerous, but it needs to be done. And so what we have developed is 4 different strategies for extreme collaboration. So I'll go through them in 1 minute each or less. The first one is you need to create what we call a common epic purpose. And what is that? Is we're never going to agree on what's the problem. We'll even less, we're going to agree about what's the solution. So let's not talk about that. Let's get 2 levels higher into a more poetic realm where we can talk about more abstract things and not really boil it down to the real problem and the real solution. And so, for example, we can have a discussion about what creates global warming. And we can have a huge discussion about what are the real solutions. But if we go 2 layers above that and we say we need to leave a decent place for our kids to live and for our grandkids to live, then there's not much discussion about that. So if we can go up the ladder to a more meaningful plane, we can build this, what we call this common epic purpose. It's common, it's a purpose, but it's epic because it fills our lives with purpose. So building a world where my grandchildren can live, it's going to be an epic adventure, and that's one we need to do together. So the first thing is build an epic common purpose. And once you have that, then how do we work? We want to work. Now it is, once we have the common epic purpose, we have something to fight for. The question is, how do we work together? So the second strategy is what we call intertwining stakeholders. And what we're saying there is we tend to think that to work together, we need to be on the same page and do the same things, which really makes no sense. What makes sense is that I have my own KPIs, I have my own goals, I have my own needs, I have my own wants, I have my love, things I hate, things I fear, and so do you. Why should we abandon all of that to be able to work together? No, wouldn't it be wonderful if common purpose or common good didn't mean abandoning your own drivers? And that's what we say when we're saying intertwining stakeholders, is that you and me, we don't have the same drivers, but there's synergies to those drivers that can be found. And if we start looking actively for those synergies, then we can start sowing and mixing a lot of energy from thousands of people because they don't agree, but in some points, sometimes they are pushing on the same side. So if you keep actively building these synergies, doing engineering of serendipity to create forces that push towards our epic common goal, then you can channel a ton of energy to change the world in the way we need to change it. But if instead of that, you want everybody to be on the same page and have the same goals and do the same task, nobody's going to follow you. And that's exactly what's happening right now. The French are taking care of the French people. The Russians are doing their own thing. The Americans think that their way of doing life is the right way, and blah, blah, blah. And so there's no way to get us all on the same page. So in case of climate change, for example, we have this thing called the COP, the Conference of the Parties, done by the UN, and the Agreement of Paris, the Paris Accord is one of the COP. It's COP 21. We're now up to COP 26, I think. But the thing is, anything that we are going to do together as a planet needs to be absolutely agreed on every single feature. So if you want to have 197 countries sign a document where they agree on every word, it takes us years to do anything. So I'm not saying we should be doing it. It's amazing that we're doing it, but we need to fast track this. And so we don't need to be agreeing on every fucking word. We don't need to agree on every path. We just need to have an epic common purpose and see how we can help each other with the way each one on their own path, on their own terms, is moving forward. So first, epic common purpose. Second, intertwined stakeholders. Third, if you don't involve entrepreneurs and the private sector to change the world, you are basically throwing out the window 90% of the change potential. We tend to think that the grand challenges of humanity have to be taken care by NGOs or governments, or the agglomeration of governments in the UN and things like that. But no, companies are destroying the world and companies are saving the world. The power of the market as a force for good is huge. And if we don't take that into consideration, we're just being foolish. So the third strategy is bring the market as an energy to change the world. And the fourth strategy is bring everybody else, bring individuals, bring the society, bring the civic energy. So it's not just Greta that is changing the world. There's thousands of people that together are building different solutions for different problems that we have. And the amazing thing is that you can now coordinate globally in an impressive way. So one little girl decided not to go to school one Friday. A year after, you have Fridays for the Futures around the world. And millions of kids are not going to school just to fight that fight. So what I'm saying is there's a huge energy that you can channel from individuals, from just citizens being citizens, citizens taking care of their countries, of their cities, of their planet, collaborating together. So that's it. Build a common epic purpose, intertwine stakeholders, don't force them to work together. Bring in the market and the entrepreneurs and the big companies. They are going to make a big difference, and bring everybody else, bring the citizens that can, as just because they are a natural stakeholder. It's our world, it's our planet, it's our politics, it's our challenges. If you give us a way of making the change, we're going to help. So that's what we call collaboration.
What do you say to people that say, is this really possible? Is this, you know, a lot of, I mean, I know that you and I both have been pioneers for this for, you know, decades now, because, yeah, we've both been at this common idea that you've now articulated in this really wonderful way. I love the framework. What do you say to people that say, I don't think it's possible? You know, it's like blah, blah, blah. What do you say about that? What evidence can we actually share that this isn't just a pipe dream?
Well, it's happening. It's happening everywhere. I mean, you can, what subject do you want to talk about? You want to talk about regeneration? People are getting articulated around the world for regeneration. You want to talk about technology, open technology, and the DAO trend, and all. It's happening in any which way you want. We are using technology. We're getting articulated between each other to solve the problems we think that need to be solved. Now, if you can build a business model around it, then you can accelerate change. For example, let me give you a practical example. So soybean became a huge part of the planet's food supply. And the north of Argentina was planted with GMO soybeans. And in a monocultural, fashion. That basically destroyed the north of Argentina and made it a desert. So you can say, oh, big business is good. It's bad for the planet. Sure. But in comes Guayaquil, and Guayaquil is a energy drink like Red Bull that you can have, and they sell it in New York streets. And Guayaquil is done by a company that decided to regenerate the north of Argentina. And so what they said is, we're not going to plant thousands and thousands of hectares of yerba mate, which is the basic ingredient, the typical tea that Argentinians drink, mate. We're not going to plant thousands of, we're going to plant forests. And in those forests, we're going to plant yerba mate as part of those forests. And we're going to take it there, and we're going to make billions of dollars selling this, which they are. And at the same time, we're going to regenerate thousands of hectares of natural forest, which they do. They can save the planet, and at the same time, they can make tons of money. So I'm not saying this is weird. I'm just saying the World Economic Forum is talking about stakeholder capitalism instead of shareholder capitalism. And if you think the World Economic Forum is a Marxist, you are very wrong. What they're saying is this is not only capitalism, but it's intelligent capitalism, because it's sustainable only if we can dance with the rest of society and dance with the rest of the planet. Now, that's just to show that it's happening, but it's also happening in terms of people organizing themselves to change the world. To get women's vote, think about women's vote for a while. Women's have been half of the planet all along. When my grandmother was born, she could not vote. My grandmother. She didn't have the right to vote. Women didn't have the right to vote. When my mother was born, my mother did not have the right to vote when she was born. When I was born, my mother already had the right to vote, but at the same time, she did not have the right to manage her bank account. Her own bank account, she needed the signature of my father to take out money from her own bank account. That's the speed at which that thing changed. Now, if you think about gay rights, between the moment gay rights fight started and the moment we got gay marriage, that was 40 years, 50 years, I don't know. So the speed at which we're changing society to make it more open, more integrated, more inclusive has been mind-blowing. Why? Because we can actually organize thousands of millions of people to demand for a juster planet. We didn't have that before. If you wanted to have 1 million people on the streets, you need to be a political party and own a newspaper. Today, you need to have a cell phone in your pocket, and you can get 1 million people on the streets. So actually, the fact that we can self-organize in a distributed way and globally, the fact that we can have this conversation between 10 different countries at the same time had never happened that before in the history of humanity. So it is possible to organize. Now, the reason we don't, the reason it fails, is because we try to force everybody to agree. And people don't want to agree. they might want to work together, but they want to be their own self. They want to pursue their own things. They want to have their own drives. And if we acknowledge that, if we accept that, if we accept diversity instead of the 20th century Stalinistic mode, yeah, people participate. I don't need to quote to you Wikipedia and all that kind of crap that we've built as a planet all together. Sure, we can.
Yeah, we know it's a beautiful thing from my standpoint, since I have a technology background. I feel the exact same thing as what Leo's pointing to, and I want to I'll for the people who come from the tech background, the thing I see that lines up right with what Leo's talking about is open source software. You know, we now have a bunch of hobbyists and companies that'll work together that are able to do things in a way like where Linux, which became Android, which is on more than 76% of the world phones now, you know, that was organized, that was decentralized organization. And I have a copy, you have a copy, you can do whatever you want to with it. I can do whatever I want to with it. And no one's really in control. So, you know, we can express ourselves. I love the way you've articulated those 4 points. Especially, you know, from a standpoint of Leo and I kind of got to similar conceptualizations through different paths. But I think that's partially what he's totally talking about. So let's do this. So we have a couple of people that are in the studio audience that are starting these type of projects. One of them is Dr. Felipe Cornejo, who happens to be here in Valparaiso. Jello, could you bring him on as well? And what we'll do is we're going to get him to do 2 things. First off, Felipe, tell us about the experiment that you have locally called AVA. You're a board member on AVA. You have a PhD in biotech, and you have a startup. I'd love to hear, tell us a little bit first about AVA, what you're doing that lines up, because it feels like it lines up with exactly what Leo is pointing to. And I'd love to have you talk about a little bit the experiment that you guys have and that created this conference, as well as then we'll hear from you about your elevator pitch as well.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for your invitation. I'm trying to do my best here, trying to pay attention to everything. I share the view of Leo. I think that we need to have an epic concept, you know. So here, my name is Felipe Cornejo. I have a PhD in biotechnology. What I do mainly is trying to understand how we can create a story with data and how we can validate all those data in technology, like traditional technology, in biotechnology as well. My story, it's very strong connected with the ecosystem in general, because for different reasons, I'm being part of different actors of this kind of ecosystem. I've started my career as a researcher. I was part of the University Católica of Chile and also the University Católica of Valparaíso. But sooner I realized that I was not a good teacher. I was just a good researcher. And I have the opportunity to be part of a Endeavor's network, and that changed my life. Because of that, I saw the importance of cooperation, trying to improve solutions, as Leo says, like having an epic and see the future with faith. You you need to believe in what you want to do, and you need to share some similar goals before to put people together, because sometimes put people together is really hard to do. With that experience, with that learning, and with that fails and also success as well combined, I'm starting to see the opportunity to be part of this kind of new ecosystems that are already building here region of Valparaíso. We are part of AVA. What is AVA? We are like basically some sort of ecosystem builder. We are part of like this kind of right now we are not formally, but we are some sort of a non-profit, because we are trying to push this idea, this epic that Leo says, that we can work together without the need to share frame, without the need to share same kind of like a goal. but because right now we don't have it, we want something. We want to turn the Valparaiso region in one of the mainstream of innovation, scientific based innovation into the region, between other regions, and explore our knowledge and talent around the world. How is that was built? To be honest, I wasn't in the part of founder. I'm just like a new here, but I'm faster being part of this situation because everybody is want to be part of it. And one thing was cool, and I was paying a lot of attention about what Leo was saying. Is like you don't need to share common values. You don't just need to share some epic. That it's what we're already trying to build here. Ava want to everybody join us and create something better for region of Valparaiso by using innovation and science as the platform. So what we want here, not right now, is how we can help you to make this success. And because of that, we have the support of the state with the Minister of Science and also with Corfo, the Corporation of Finance Support that support promotes innovation, startup, scale up as well. And we also starting to connect with other ecosystems. That's why you came here, and we are very happy that you're here in Chile, sharing with us, talking with us, and making this a friendly way to communicate and connect with everybody here. What is happening here is like we're starting to connect people who never talked before because we are part of different social groups, we're part of different social knowledge, we are part of different social ideas, but it's already happening. And I like that this already happening, exactly as Leo is sharing with his proposal with Julia, because actually, as much as I know, then Leo can share us that way. Because when Ava was started, it was started with the support of Gulliver. And we developed some sort of ideas about how to connect those people. And you know what was interesting? When I'm joined here, I was with the triple impact and give back idea that Endeavors has. And I was invited starting this year to cooperate in the idea. And my first question was like, okay, dude, how can I help you? The first thing that I realized that when I saw that and when I said, how can I help you? Many people look at me with trust issues, like, why you want to help me? You want something back? No, I don't want anything back. I don't want to have I don't know, a pitch. I don't want to say to you anything because behaviors talk mostly and mainly that just like words, you know? So I just want to help you. And if you are success, just give me something back that you're gonna remember that this is happening in the region and give the same support to everybody here that doesn't have the chance. That's the only feedback that I want, because with cooperation is the only way that we're gonna do the things in the right way. And now that's why we're very happy sharing with you, Kevin, sharing with Antonio, and reconnect with everybody here. We're trying to do is like doing the economy and the science of love and the economy and the science of cooperation, making everybody work together and say like, you don't have reason to distrust with people. And even though you distrust with people, we don't know them. So let's change that word and say like, you don't have reasons to have lack of trust. So just trust, see what happened, and then with behavior and results, make something way better here. So basically, long story short, and with this I end, we're trying to put people who has not the social opportunity to connect with founders. We have these chances to connect people who has cool ideas, but they don't have the scientific background. And we put with those guys who already has that scientific background, already has that money, already has that networking, and we connect each other. It's already happening. Recently, you know, like this is very funny. I can tell you what already happened. After many meetings, after many talks with other director broad members, I said, I really like your company. Can I buy some percent? Of course. and we make it fast. And we're trying to create this kind of a virus effect where everybody want to connect with everybody who want to make something possible without the need to sell something or to push how good is what you're doing, because we don't need it. There's a lot of talent. We only need to see is how we can connect, how we can see the results, and from those results create more and more and more impact. That's why we're trying to do it here. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, and so for anyone that that would like to find out more about the actual conference, you can go to 27ee.cl. The CL stands for Chile, 27ee.cll, TCL, just CL. Thank you, Felipe. What we'll do is I will make sure that there's a couple different things that are happening. That I want to make sure a lot of times I'll bring different people. There's different questions that are coming in and things like that from different people. We only have another 8 or so minutes for the official time. So let me mention this, because I know that a lot of times when we get close to the hour, people have to log off or they step away from the streams on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. The thing that I want to make sure that you know is you're all welcome. What we're going to do is in the show notes for today that we'll post both externally into the YouTube page, as well as internally in the community site, which is community.techranch.com. Part of what we do is Leo had actually posted, he said, here you can download the books about extreme collaboration strategies here at gulliver.cl/collaboration extrema. And we'll get to that URL. We'll make sure that that's in the show notes. So if you hear this as a recording or you come back later, make sure that you actually do that. And then the other thing that what we'll do is we'll share some more details about Felipe is here in Valparaiso. It's an absolutely beautiful town. It's just I had many more videos and photos that I wanted to share just for this town, as well as Santiago as well, just because they've been, 20 years ago they started being my home away from home, and so we'll do that. We'll also share more about what's happening with Ava, the group that Felipe is on the board with, and the main thing about what's happening there. And as you can already tell, there's a little bit of history about Leo and his business partners planting some seeds here that I'm hoping through this network, especially since Leo and I haven't, we have all this collaboration time in the past, and we're now actually bringing the networks now back together. Pretty excited about that. Let's go back to Leo, and thank you, Felipe. Let's go back to Leo, and you kind of always have this style of being able to stitch everything together. Let me throw things over to you and have you do that.
Well, one of the things that stood up in the way you opened this meeting today is the idea of bridging. So in 3 times we are very concerned about building bridges between polarized conversations. When we build these collaborative ecosystems, whether it's for sustainability like in Cities Can Be, or it's entrepreneurship like Ava, what we're trying to do is build bridges between different stakeholders around this common epic purpose. But I think there's a case to be done about, could we build bridges around the world for a tribe of entrepreneurs that are thinking of how we can use the force of the market to take on the grand challenges of humanity. I think the B Corp movement is doing that in certain ways, but I think there's much more to be said. I don't know if you've heard of We All or Imperative 21. Imperative 21. Imperative 21 was the next venture of one of the persons who created the B Corp movement worldwide, Jay Cohen, who's an amazing guy. And the Imperative 21 is a coalition of coalitions. And I love that idea of having them build an understanding of what is it that we should be fighting for all together. I tend to think that we're running out of time. We are in the midst of winter here in Chile, and we have the climate that we should be having in summer. So I don't want to know what kind of heat wave we're going to have in summer. And that's not the problem. The problem is what kind of heat wave we're going to have in 20 more years. So maybe in 20 more years, I'll be an old person who's coming out of the game. But in 20 more years, my small child is going to be in her prime. And I don't know what kind of hell we've thrown her into. And so I think we need to press the gas pedal to see how we dig ourselves out of this. And if we're going to keep on delegating upwards, which means it's not my problem, it's the government's problem, or it's the United Nations problem, shit, it's my life. It's me who's not going to be able walking down the streets. My girlfriend just got an offer to participate in an amazingly beautiful regeneration project in Marbella, in the south of Spain. Wonderful beach, a very amazing place. And the guy says, well, we're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning because we cannot work during the day, because it's unbearable during the day. That's the kind of reality we're living right now. What's the kind of reality we're going to be living in 20 more years, in 40 more years? So are we going to be good ancestors? Are the next generations going to look us with disgust? Or are they going to be grateful? I think we need to consider that as we move, thinking of what we can do together. I love technology. I like entrepreneurship. I think we are here to invent the world, not to administrate it. I think to be a human is to be creative and to create new worlds. I think we are in dire need of new worlds right now.
I would totally agree with that. That it's that the time is now, and yeah, and it's not something to wait for someone else to take action on. I tell you what, I want on that, Leo. I think since we're coming to the end of our time, we'll go ahead and wrap up for today, and I will make it a point. I think that Leo has been responsible for a lot of my insight. He helped me see a world that I couldn't see when I went down to Chile in 2003. And so part of what we'll be doing is inviting him, like every day that I go back to Santiago today, and I'm going to actually try to capture as much of his time over the next 5 days before I return to Texas. Leo, thank you for joining us today. Felipe as well, to the whole crew here in Valparaiso that gave me the opportunity to come down to give that keynote speech, as well as to help build out this set of bridges and that we can, hug the world with. It is like, I want to echo what I hear in Leo's words about it. It's our action. It's our action as entrepreneurs, especially. And even if you don't consider yourself an entrepreneur, you're in a position to take action. And it's not, it's not up to someone else. It's not something that you should abdicate to someone else. So I'll echo Leo's words totally. Yeah, thank you, Leo. What we'll do is I have a couple of closing slides. Felipe, did you have something you want to say? Just one moment, really quick.
Sure. We should try sketch ranch here. We should do something cool with Chihuahua, and we should try to do something cool with Leo. Everything it could happen here because we are enjoying to make you welcoming here. many times as much as you want and can. So let's make this vibe here.
That's beautiful. I look forward to it.
Cool.
I
Yeah, sure.
really truly enjoyed this part of the world. Chile has taught me so much, especially with the Chileans. Thank you, Felipe, and Leo. Thank you for your long-term commitment to your commitment from your heart and to my training as well. I appreciate it. Okay, well, what we'll do is I want to make sure that everyone knows that I want to apologize to those that were on the LinkedIn stream. I know John and Melvin, you had some questions, and for whatever reason, because of the setup I have, since I don't have my secondary monitor and things like that, I wasn't able to get to those questions. What I'm going to suggest is that we transfer these over to the community site. A lot of times what we ask are the people that speak, we make sure that they're posted on questions get, captured from the other sites and we get posted into the community site so that others can actually, follow up. And we typically ask our speakers to stick around and respond to questions back and forth, not via email. Like I get a lot of requests where it say, hey, will you introduce me to Leo or introduce me to Felipe? The way we do this so that we're not intruding too much on their lives is we'll have a set of threaded discussions that are available there. I'll ask Leo, I'll ask Felipe, I'll ask Antonio that instead of us giving out their contact information, the threads keep on going on, and we'll capture some of the questions that were on LinkedIn that was really difficult. I don't know why it kept on saying I have a screen right over to my left that says we're having issues loading this event. I don't know why, but I saw some of your questions. We'll post them there. If you're not a part of the community already, make sure you go to techranch.com/connect. On that page, you'll see a place that you can sign up for the community. You also can sign up for, if you'd like to see this work brought to other parts of the world, perhaps there's a place there for signing up to be one of our country managers. Now, a country manager it's not a paid position. It's a collaborative position. It's like you want to actually work with us to bring this type of work back and forth and kind of start that initial conversation. We've already met with a number of the people that are already doing this from other parts of the world that would like to have you connect in. If you have entrepreneurial scar tissue, you'd like to donate to other entrepreneurs, sign up as one of our mentors. There's a place to do that as well. And a few other things, techranch.com/connect. And we'll make sure that we share that out back and forth. There will be a number of the follow-up emails and follow-up URLs that, like Leo had suggested, and several of y'all had posted into the chat comments that we'll just connect over there into the community site. And with that, I'm so excited to be back in Chile. I'm going to go enjoy many pisco sours and a bunch of Chilean food and be hanging out with Leo later today and then several times over the next few days. As well as several other really close Chilean friends. It's always my honor to be here with a group of entrepreneurs and world leaders that have vision and values for changing the world for the better. Let's go change the world for the better together. Y'all take care. Thank you.